Before we begin, it's vitally important that I make something perfectly clear. Whatever you feel after this video concludes, please do not use that energy to spread negativity towards those in the wrong. It's not worth it. Instead, spread positive energy towards those who deserve it the most. Show appreciation and gratitude for the community members who have given this story a happy ending. With that said, let's begin. I have an unfortunate story to share with you today. This is an incredibly complicated story, spanning several years of developments, so this will take some time to get through. One of Minecraft's biggest and most well-known resource packs is the alleged victim of blatant intellectual property theft. You may have heard of it, as I'm talking about Faithful32X. Faithful is a Minecraft resource pack created by Vattic in November of 2010 that went on to become one of the game's most popular resource packs of all time. Its premise has always been pretty simple. What would Minecraft look like if its texture resolution was double the game's default? Simple, clean, effective, beloved. Faithful32X was continually maintained by Vattic all the way through Minecraft release version 1.8, or for around 4 years or so. And his policy for people having permission to use his textures for their own packs was really always quite simple. If you used any of the textures for your own packs, credit Vattic's work and link back to the original Minecraft forum thread. A generous policy at the time and ever since. As some of you might be aware, I use and host a variation of Faithful called FaithfulVenom, with permission, that also aims to preserve a few more things that Faithful does not. Namely, the game's old sounds that were changed in early 2012, and the game's vibrant color map that was altered in Minecraft Beta 1.8, which resulted in my original map spawn point turning from a vibrant green into a rather dead-looking green. Following the release of Minecraft 1.8, Vattic unfortunately disappeared from the community, leaving the fate of Faithful hanging in the balance for Minecraft 1.9 and beyond. It's at this point in the story that things begin to turn sour. The day is March 17th, 2016 at 11:22 a.m. Minecraft 1.9 had released only 17 days prior, and I had not yet updated FaithfulVenom to include 1.9's textures given the disappearance of Vattic at the time. I still wanted to keep FaithfulVenom up to date, but I am not a texture artist, which means I've always relied on other people's work in order to keep it up to date, which I've always been very forward about. This led me to someone who goes by the name of Cranef, otherwise known as Mr. Vizzy, or just Vizzy. Vizzy is a texture artist that decided to continue work on Faithful for Minecraft versions 1.9 and beyond. While looking for new textures to implement, I ultimately found his work on CurseForge, so I inquired with him about using his textures to update FaithfulVenom, which he said he was fine with, so long as I credited him. This was the same policy that Vattic had with Faithful during his time working on the pack, so nothing seemed amiss. And this is how things went for a while, just smooth sailing. Throughout all of 2016, 2017, and much of 2018, Vizzy and his growing team would continue updating the pack for the newest versions of Minecraft. On August 26, 2018, a user who goes by the name of Offroaders123 would convert FaithfulVenom to work on the relatively new Minecraft Bedrock Edition, which I tweeted about to make sure that my audience knew about it. Everything seems great, right? Well, in late February of 2019, the story would take a turn for the worse. On February 26, 2019, the Faithful32X resource pack would make its appearance on the official Minecraft marketplace. At a glance, it's not immediately obvious that anything is wrong, aside from its price being set at $8 USD, which made it the most expensive resource pack on the marketplace. When inquired about this fact on Reddit, Vizzy claimed that he didn't know what the price would be, which is absolutely a flat-out lie. This subject was covered in detail by IBX Toycat on March 3rd, just 5 days following Faithful's introduction into the Minecraft marketplace. The very next day, Offroaders123 took FaithfulVenom Bedrock offline for fear of an incoming DMCA claim by Vizzy, according to an email I received from him that day. Okay, timeout, hold up. Did Vizzy have the commercial rights to even put Faithful onto the Minecraft marketplace? Would Vizzy have even had the authority to submit a DMCA takedown claim against re-uploads of Faithful? On March 14th, 10 days after FaithfulVenom Bedrock was taken offline, I inquired about this problem with Vizzy, and he told me that the new textures were protected under copyright and that most of the textures do not relate to the time of Vattic. Unfortunately, I completely believed Vizzy's explanation, which is why I didn't push the subject any further. Vizzy may be right about the textures that he created being protected on their own, but the marketplace version of Faithful have used textures created by Vattic ever since it hit the marketplace, and it still does use some of them today. I'm not going to run down the entire library of textures to compare in this video, but if we compare Vizzy's present-day creeper texture with Vattic's original, it doesn't take a detailed forensics analysis to conclude that they are one and the same. In fact, most of the textures Vizzy was using at the time were the same as Vattic's, and many are still the same today. So then the question remains, did Vizzy have the rights to use the Faithful name and Vattic's hard work in a product that he was selling for profit? This is all contingent on the assumption that Vattic gave Vizzy ownership rights to Faithful and allowed for him to sell this pack on the marketplace. It's not entirely out of the question that the two of them may have come to some sort of an agreement about it. However, dear viewer, I'm sorry to report that no such agreement was ever made. Vattic never provided Vizzy with any kind of permission to continue Faithful's namesake, let alone publish it on the marketplace. How do I know this? Well, that's because Vattic has returned. One year ago today, communication with Vattic was restored. Up until this point, I've only been able to tell you the story that I have been directly involved with. However, the only reason I'm even able to tell you my story today is because of why Vattic has returned. Strap yourselves in, because this is Chapter 2. I mentioned earlier in the video that the team working on Faithful had been growing from 2016 and onwards. For reasons that I am about to get into, they are the heroes of this story. These truly faithful team members are the reason why I have all of this information to share with you today. By the time October of 2020 had rolled around, Vattic had not made an appearance for multiple years, and Vizzy is even on the record as stating that he was allegedly told that Vattic had fallen on hard times, which meant he wasn't around to do work on Faithful any longer. We'll get into that later as well. This part of the story begins with two users who go by the name of Ninventoo and Sai. Ninventoo was second in command of the Faithful project, as well as being a moderator of Faithful's Discord server. And then there's Sai, who was also a Discord moderator, had write access to Faithful's website, and who was able to make changes to Faithful's GitHub page as well, meaning he was one of the few who could update the pack aside from Vizzy himself. That fact is key to what happens next. For a period of time prior to November of 2020, Vizzy's activity on Discord had become infrequent, leaving the team to update Faithful themselves during this period of time. The way in which the administrative team updated Faithful's textures was through a clever voting system where new textures could be submitted and voted upon, and the textures with the best ratio of upvotes to downvotes were the ones that were supposed to be added into the pack. With Vizzy being absent at the time, and with people asking where the next version of the pack was, Sai asked Ninventoo to compile the most recently voted textures into the pack so he could publish an updated version of the pack. But on November 5th, 2020, Vizzy returned and he was outraged. having others able to control a pack that he thought was solely his to control didn't sit very well with him. As you can see here, he felt that he had the right to ban any member that he wanted who didn't just make textures. What a guy. This was when he began to systematically remove every contributor's Discord role, removed all moderators aside from Ninventoo from the server, and went as far as to ban absolutely anyone who disagreed with his decision, effectively wiping the slate clean so others couldn't make decisions without his approval again. I'm starting to sense a pattern here. As you might imagine, these team members weren't exactly happy with this choice, but their response was a noble one. Stepping away from the Faithful project now, several of its former contributors and moderation team created their own Discord server and as well their own resource pack project in response to what had just happened, which would take on the name Compliance. The names of these contributors deserve to be known. Compliance's founding members consisted of Sai, who I mentioned before, and then there's Pomi, Juknum, Haragon, Robert, JogurciQ, and PeJohn, with FHLX, Evorp, and even Ninventoo joining the team later on. I'll talk more about Compliance in a few moments. For now, let's fast forward to December 18th, 2020. Not long before this, it was noticed that Vattic's original Minecraft account had a recent skin change. Was he hacked? Was this for real? There might be signs of life here. 1 year ago today, after having been outcasted from the Faithful project, 4 of Compliance's members decided that enough was enough. Out of options and desperate for some sort of resolution, they knew what they had to do. They had to embark on a quest to find Vattic in search of answers. On that day, Situation, Carthy, TRG, and FHLX decided to reach out to Vattic in a manner where they felt they stood the best chance of regaining contact. They chose to submit an urgent bug report on Vattic's original GitHub page that was directly associated with the original Faithful project in the past. I mean, what did they have to lose, right? Worst case scenario, they get no response. Best case scenario, well, the best case scenario... The best case scenario is exactly what happened next. Vattic responded, and his response was legitimately shocking. Hello, I never gave anyone permission to keep the pack going. My disappearance is complicated, and I'll not go into it here. I am open to talk about what is going on. Might be best to move things onto a private channel. Wow, things just got a lot more interesting. Vattic, welcome back. We missed you. To get this out of the way, Vattic's identity was verified 7 ways to Sunday. The GitHub page wherein he replied was his original. He applied a TXT element to the original faithful 32x32.com domain upon request by the Minecraft forum staff in order to reactivate his Minecraft forum account, which it now is. He also provided proof that he has some of his original texture PSD files that were used in the creation of those textures in the first place. This is Vattic. They found him. They actually did it. After verifying his identity, Vattic was shown the screenshot that Vizzy allegedly used as proof of ownership for the Faithful name and its assets. Vizzy, I made a big job. Can I get all rights for Faithful? Vattic, okay, this package is now yours. Vizzy, thanks. Now, viewer, it also doesn't take a forensics analysis to see that this screenshot is so bad it's actually comical. Vizzy is a Russian individual and Vattic is British. Vattic's wording within this screenshot doesn't even look like what someone who speaks English would even say. It looks like a non-English speaker's interpretation of what someone who speaks English would say, fed through Google Translate or something. Now, I'm not flaming Vizzy for not speaking proper English, but even without Vattic's confirmation, it's pretty easy to tell that something wasn't kosher about this response. As you might imagine, Vattic confirmed this supposed proof was fake, stating that the profile picture is correct, but I never had that conversation. I would never say okay, this package is yours. This single-handedly causes Vizzy's entire argument to fall apart. Vizzy, I have a message for you. You are not the owner of Faithful, and I hope that the community will no longer support your work. I look forward to any potential legal action that might be coming your way, courtesy of Faithful's real owner, Vattic. Now, viewer, I told you at the beginning of the video, do not seek retribution. It's not worth it, and any potential legal action is being handled at the discretion of Vattic in private. So I ask that you respect his privacy. Instead, support the future of Faithful. Support the efforts that come next. If you've stuck around this long, I ask that you don't leave the video until I've concluded all of what I have to say. If you wish to support the future of Faithful, there are a few things that you can do. First, follow Vattic on Twitter, as he has control of that again as well. If the original vision of the Faithful project brought you any positive feelings throughout the years, I'm sure that he'd love to have your support again. The rumors about him having fallen on hard times were not exactly untrue, so if you wish to support Vattic more directly, I'll have a link below for that as well. Second, check out the alternatives to Faithful, all of which have gotten Vattic's stamp of approval. First, there's Compliance, which aims to loosely follow Minecraft's newer texture methodology with a more realistic approach. Throughout the video, the icon on the bottom left of the screen has been indicative of which pack I've been using, so you're able to see the differences for yourself. And then there's Emulated Vattic, which aims to take on a more simplistic art style that matches the original Faithful look more closely. Before I get into the last one, however, definitely be sure to check out these packs after the video is over, because those who made these packs possible were absolutely vital in gathering and compiling the information that I've shared with you here today. Their plan moving forward is to try and get the Faithful name itself back and eventually combine Compliance and Emulated Vattic into Faithful. So, at last, there's FaithfulVenom. FaithfulVenom also aims to forever preserve the look and feel of Vattic's original Faithful, as well as retaining the changes that I mentioned at the beginning of the video involving old sounds, the color palette, the hotbar, along with a few other things here and there. Because FaithfulVenom was always a random hodgepodge of textures that I typically just grabbed from Faithful, FaithfulVenom had to be entirely rebuilt from the ground up. It was briefly considered to rename FaithfulVenom to Comply Ant, because that would be a hilarious pun, but I refused to let go of the FaithfulVenom name. Just because someone else decided to stomp all over Faithful doesn't mean I'm giving up the name. Instead, I'm choosing to redefine what Faithful means, because Vizzy doesn't deserve to be known for it any longer. For those of you using FaithfulVenom for 1.18, you are already on the version that is rebuilt from the ground up, whether you had realized it or not. At this point, I have one more name to thank here today, and his name is Malak99. Malak is a name that I should have shouted from the rooftops a long time ago. When both 1.16 and 1.17 came out, Malak made it clear to me that he would be willing to update FaithfulVenom using textures that would match the vision that I had for it, but I had always wound up barely missing his messages until right after I would haphazardly update the pack myself. However, once this whole situation was brought to my attention back in June of this year, Malak single-handedly went to work swapping every single texture that wasn't the work of Vattic himself, and he also created a credits file within the resource pack zip file for almost every single texture in the pack. Many are from Emulated Vattic, which also credits the source of their textures. Some are from Vattic's original pack, all of which were either made by him or came from other community contributions, wherein clear credit was also given. A few are from Compliance, who also credit their work, and a few are made by Malak himself, along with a sprinkling of other textures made by a handful of individuals, all credited. Not only did Malak prepare a rebuilt FaithfulVenom for Minecraft 1.18, but he did it for every single release from 1.12 up to 1.18. The dude is insane. The goal from this point on is very simple. If a texture is the work of another individual or project, credit it. Plain and simple. I have always had permission to use the textures that I've used throughout the years, but none of this would have ever been possible without the absolute blood, sweat, tears, and dedication of other community members just looking to do the right thing. More detailed credits for absolutely everyone who helped make this announcement possible will be given in the description down below. That just about does it for me for now. My name is AntVenom, and thanks for watching.